backing down a mountain road on a foggy night with a trailer load of dynamite that could explode if I don't yell out cut at the right time. Holding on to nothing but the straws that weren't worth grasping at, and knowing that just makes it that much harder to feel better without tequila every night. And someday it won't matter, although tonight it does. Budgets just get better, scripts they get ignored. It's just talking moving pictures, it's all it ever was. But tell that to Peckinpah and Ford. Running through a village with the bullets flashing, sunlight streaming, music crashing, women screaming, one hand on my megaphone, barking orders at the frightened pretty girls. And since you left, there's demons there, they're all around my folding chair, offering the bottles and the powder that will kill me as I slowly lose control of my own world. And someday it won't matter, although tonight it does. Budgets just get battered, scripts they get ignored. It's just talking moving pictures, that's all it ever was. But tell that to Peckinpah and Ford. Tell that to Peckinpah and Ford. Locked up in 1961, waiting for parole. In 1969, they let him out to do a show. Hendrix, Joplin, Morrison, they all were still alive. And it made all the headlines the day Spade Cooley died. Spade Cooley in the 40s had a swinging western sound. He partied hard and he shared the charts with Bob Wills and Milton Brown. They loved him out in Hollywood, his life was wild and high. And that's what they remember the day Spade Cooley died. Now when Spade was sober, he could charm every lady in the crowd. But when Spade was drunk, he wasn't charming. He was obnoxious, mean, and loud. He said he had to beat his woman just to feel satisfied. And I wonder if they thought of her the day Spade Cooley died. Fiddles and the saxophones played the drunken, jealous nights. The whiskey fills some men with fun, it just made Spade wanna fight. He got drunk and fired his band. He got drunk and killed his wife. And it made all the headlines was the day Sly Coolly died. Locked up in 1961, waiting for parole. In 1969, they let him out to do a show. He took his bows, he walked off stage, and something broke inside. And all his sins caught up with him the day Sly Coolly died. He took his bows, he walked off stage, and something broke inside. And all his sins caught up with him the day Sly Coolly died. Saw an airplane's lights tonight, blinking through points of starlight, on its way to only God knows where. If you were on it, I wouldn't know, but I believe you'd like to go, and if you did, guess I wouldn't care. But I remember better times, Jamaican grass, German wine. And maybe that was someone else's life, not yours and not mine. The hall was dark, you knew the way, and everything we had to say was memorized so very long ago. I let you slip, you slipped away into a dream, and that's a place where what you feel beats everything you know. But I remember better times, Jamaican grass, German wine, and maybe that was someone else's life, not yours, not mine. Saw an airplane's lights tonight, blinking through points of starlight, on its way to only God knows where. Rain is washing most of my sins away. The ones that remain, they're the ones I've asked to stay. Clouds are pouring, salvation all around. I'm catching grace in a bucket, it's a sweet, amazing sound. Sounds like angels crashing to the ground, and it sounds like angels. Crashing to the ground, sounds like angels. Sounds like angels. Oh, that's the sound. Well, the truth is hard and fast, and it's impossible to ignore. It grabs you by the throat till you can't take it anymore. And when it finally lets you go, you know you'll never be the same. And it won't be bargained with, and you can't give it another name. But it sounds like angels crashing to the ground, and it sounds like angels crashing to the ground. Sounds like angels. Sounds like angels. Oh, that's the sound. They're not watching me while I'm asleep. They're not praying for my soul. They're not doing much of anything. They're spinning down, spinning all around, spinning down all around, out of control. The wild storm is raging right outside my wall. The hurricane is pounding, but I'm not afraid at all. Lightning rips the sky, thunder shakes the air, but all I hear is laughter, and it comes from everywhere, and it sounds like angels crashing to the ground. Sounds like angels crashing to the ground. Sounds like angels. Sounds like angels. That's the sound. And it sounds like angels. And it sounds like angels crashing to the ground. She's still in jail again, and love won't share the cot. They slapped the handcuffs on her in the beach club parking lot. I only try to love her every now and then, but romance don't have no chance. She's still in jail again. Well, I wish my baby hadn't run that red light, and I wish her driver's license hadn't expired, and I wish she hadn't drank that case of Bud Light before driving to the bar on Squealing Tire. When she cashed that rubber check, I got real nervous. Oh, I panicked when she asked to run a tab. Well, she's guilty, and I know that she deserves this. But Judge, my baby's not really wild. When she's sober, she ain't bad, but she's still in jail again. And love won't share the cot. No, they slapped the handcuffs on her in the beach club parking lot. I only try to love her every now and then. Yeah, but romance don't have no chance. She's still in jail again. Well, I wish my baby hadn't broke that bottle and held it to the bouncer's trembling throat, because maybe then the bartender would not have called the cops when she pulled that stolen gun from beneath her coat. And I wish she hadn't told the cop to do that. It's physically impossible anyway. Can't do it. And I hope they called for backup and a SWAT team before my baby steals the squad car and drives into the lake. But she's still in jail again, and love won't share the cot. No, they slapped the handcuffs on her in the beach club parking lot. And I only try to love her every now and then. Yeah, but romance don't have no chance. She's still in jail again. I said that romance don't have no chance, 'cause she's still in jail again.
Okay, once again, welcome to the Tony D. Now Show, and I'm sitting here with Mr. Doug Thompson and Mr. John Martini. Martin.
That's me. Hello.
And now you know Martini because he's been on the show several times. He's co-hosted several shows with me. I just want to talk a minute about what he does for the show. Okay, I'll find an act somewhere and. I'll call John or Mr. Martini here, and
I answer to both or others.
And he actually takes it from there and calls the people that we're going to have on the show and interviews them and writes a script. We don't always stay with the script, do we? But
not always. Close. It's a roadmap.
But yeah, it is a roadmap, and he does a whole lot of work before we actually get in here to the studio, and I think he's well deserving of co-hosting some of these shows with me.
Well, thanks for the compliments, Tony. Appreciate that.
You're welcome. You're welcome. Okay, Doug. We're going to get to you here. This show's about you, buddy.
Yep.
Okay. Doug, I understand that you're from somewhere in the Midwest?
The upper Midwest, Wisconsin.
Okay.
Lived there pretty much all my life. My dad was in the Navy, so I was a Navy brat. But he retired up there in Wisconsin, and that's where I grew up and raised a couple of kids and lived for quite a while.
But it does get cold.
It gets very cold. It does. And that's one of the reasons I ended up finding my way south to a little more reasonable climate and temperatures during the winter.
Well, speaking of finding your way south, I understand your move to the south was actually prompted by an event that you came home to that was not a very pleasant event.
It was not.
Yeah, tell us about that a little bit.
I was actually off playing a gig at a coffee house, and I got a phone call telling me that my house was on fire.
That's a nice phone call.
So I was about an hour away from home. By the time we got there, the last fire truck was just leaving, and it looked like a bomb had gone off in the house. And we lost just about everything. And I have a pretty good old friend who lives in Charlotte, works for Deloitte, and ended up taking a position in Hong Kong. And his son was going to house sit, and his son backed out at the last minute. And my friend heard about the fire and called and asked my wife and I if we'd want to come to Charlotte and house sit and check out the city for a few years. And
Like, hey, we know a guy that lost his house. Would you like to move? Right now's a good time, I guess.
something like that. It was a perfect time to move because everything I owned fit in the car.
Wow.
So it was, so it was
That was a
fortuitous
devastating thing then.
in some ways, but it was quite devastating,
Right.
yeah. But no one was hurt, and like I said, some good things have come out of it, and just moving on. You got to keep going.
There you go.
When was that? How long ago was that?
That was in May of 2012, and so we moved here in June of 2012.
Well, now, you've been writing songs, I'm going to guess, for quite a while.
Long time, yeah.
And what motivates you to write a song? I mean, do you see a dog chasing a rabbit, and all of a sudden it's like, well, there's a song in there somewhere, you know?
You can literally write a song about anything,
Yeah.
and basically the inspiration comes from all kinds of places, and it comes at odd times. I was one of those who kept a notepad by my bed, you know. because-
Write it down.
Yeah, if I didn't write it down, I would lose it.
Yeah.
And as I got older, I've lost some songs because I just don't
remember.
get up and write on the notebook like I do. But
Well, you mentioned the inspiration of things. How about, are there any other artists that you drew from? Tell the listeners a couple of those if you don't mind.
tons. I had 3 older sisters growing up, and they were all really into music. And my dad was really into music, so it started with people like Glenn Miller and Louis Jordan.
Right. Now, was your dad a musician?
He was not. He
Okay.
was just a
Well,
listener.
that's interesting.
And a sailor.
Yeah.
But he loved music, and he loved big band music. And then I remember falling asleep when I was like 4 or 5 years old to the sounds of like the Clancy Brothers and the Dubliners and a lot of Irish music in the early 60s. My folks would host cocktail parties because that's what everyone did back then,
Oh,
especially
absolutely.
in the Navy, you know. And so I would fall asleep listening to that kind of stuff. And so strong lyrical content always appealed to me. And so when Bob Dylan, when I discovered him.
I was hoping
and
you'd mention Bob Dylan. Yeah.
John Prine.
Right. Yeah,
And
absolutely.
I lived in Texas for a couple of years in the late 70s, and I discovered Guy Clark and Jerry Jeff Walker.
Sure.
And so those guys are all a big influence on me as well.
And Walker was a Texan, correct?
A transplanted New Yorker.
Oh,
but
okay.
yeah, he was in Texas long enough they claim him now.
Well, that's
but-
what I thought, yeah. Interesting.
Yeah.
Someone described the songs that you write as a 3-minute novel. Expound on that a little bit. Tell us.
Yeah, that's interesting.
It was a very, it was a very big compliment. Is how I took it. And I guess lyrically, I really try to tell a story. Often, there's things that you write impressionistically and more like that. But quite often, I'm looking at telling a story. I'm looking at getting you in, introducing some characters, whipping through a plot, and having some kind of a conclusion. And you want to wrap it up. A song, you don't have a whole lot of time like you do when you're writing a book or a movie or something like that. So you learn how to edit heavily and just leave the meat. You trim all the fat, and you just tell the story as efficiently as you can. And the best kind, the ones that turn out the best, always leave the listener places to fill in things, with their own thoughts or experiences. And hopefully what you're doing is you're coming up with a piece of art that is not only something that they can relate to on that level, but they can also relate to it as, hey, something like that, I know that thing, I know that person, I've done that, because, as human beings, we've all got so much in common. And our experiences aren't all that different except for details. So.
I know in songwriting, there's a lot of, obviously we've talked about this, but there's a lot of things that you pull from, a lot of areas, a lot of people, places and things. But is there any particular subject or group of, subjects that, this may be a hard question, but I want to ask it, but is there any group of subjects or subject that really you're drawn toward? Is it about this or that? Or
There's a little thing called women.
Okay, hey, we hit on something.
That
Touchdown.
sounds familiar.
Absolutely.
The quest to
I'm so glad I asked that question. I
quest
knew
to
I had it in
understand
me.
the opposite sexes. I think it's a common thing with all males. And if you're a songwriter, you explore that.
You got to do that. Yeah, you got to
try to move past the "she dumped me, why did she dump me" kind of stuff. And again, some of the greatest stories have been written, and novels and poems have been written about romance. And so it's certainly not a subject that you can ignore if you're a songwriter.
Well, going right back to what Tony said, a 3-minute novel.
There you go.
Song is, a lot of songs are 3 minutes or so, but that really, and I think you could certainly write a novel about the subject we just brought up.
Oh, sure, yeah.
Not being sexist, but obviously women is something that is pretty important to us men.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, that's interesting.
Well, as a matter of fact, most of the songs that I wrote are about women.
Yeah.
I don't know if you noticed that or not, but
Well, come to think of it, the last song I wrote was a woman.
There you
Wow,
go. We're
let's see,
onto something, guys.
We might need a whole nother show here on this.
We found some common ground here, guys.
Definitely.
All right. Doug, I couldn't help noticing your right hand. When you were playing the guitar, is that something that did you learn how to play with that, or?
No, I was a stand-up bass player from the time I was 10 years old, and I moved to electric bass in my teens, and I picked up the guitar around the same time. But then in my mid-20s, I had a pretty bad car accident and actually cut my hand pretty badly. And so I was left with no nerves, no feeling in my fingers. My thumb is okay. So I kind of developed a picking style using my finger here that the doctor kindly set. The hand surgeon set this like this so I could pick with it. And I used my thumb and my forefinger to pick. And it's certainly got some limitations, but it's actually over the years it's kind of turned into a style. So, I do what I can with what I've got, and I still enjoy playing a lot. So.
Yeah. Well, the older we get, the more we run into things that we.
Oh yeah,
have
my
to
left
adapt
hand
to.
has plenty of arthritis going on. Yeah. So it's.
Yeah, you play very well.
Well, thank you.
And I was really surprised when I noticed that. I thought, my goodness, look at this guy. He's playing that music, and
Yeah, how's this happening? What's
How'd this happen? From my understanding, okay, the market in Charlotte has really accepted you as a songwriter, and are you gonna hang around a while in Charlotte? What's your thoughts on that?
That's certainly my plan. What I've kind of landed in the middle of here in the city is there's a pretty burgeoning singer-songwriter community. There's a gentleman named Chuck Johnson in town.
Yes,
and,
we know Chuck.
Wink Kazaya and Chris Sanchez. I know I'm going to forget some people, so I probably shouldn't even start naming names. But there are a lot of really fine singer-songwriters working in this city, and the surrounding environs now. And I just feel really lucky and happy that I've kind of got here at the right time, and I've met a lot of these folks, and started co-writing with some of them, and it's a very supportive, kind of close-knit kind of group of writers, and yeah, they've pretty much opened up their arms and brought me right in, and I really
That's
appreciate
good.
that.
I was going to ask what you felt about the music scene in general, but you're hitting all over it. It's it appears that as Tony said, that you've been embraced here and accepted, and you're doing well.
Very happy to have had you on our show.
Thank you, Tony.
And I'm looking forward to seeing you on stage.
Absolutely.
Wonderful.
Thank you. Tony D. Now Show.